Greetings everyone, my name is Altarian and welcome back, my dearest friends, to Hakuoki, the third episode. Let us jump straight into it as the battle, demons, war, attacks, and whatever is going on continues. Saito and I had safely returned back to our base.
Saito-san,
Oh,
Yukimura-kun,
Saito-san,
どこかにお出かけでしたか?
Yukimura-kun, is with you as well. Were you out for long? She might have welcomed us back warmly, but I wasn't sure how to answer this question discreetly.
雪村がどうしても外せぬ用があるというので、共に出かけてきた。
There was business Yukimura saw fit to attend, and I acted as her escort.
それより仲が騒がしいようだが。
I hear commotion.
何かあったのか?
Has something occurred?
それがですね、近藤局長が戻ってらしたんですよ。
Oh, Chief Okinoda had returned. Kondo, really?
ええ、
Indeed.
これから合議が始まるそうなので、集まってくださいとのことです。
Seems like an assembly is going to be gathered very soon, so keen sharp.
そうか。
Very
わ
well.
かった。
Understood.
行くぞ雪村。局長や副長をお待たせするわけにはいかん。
Hurry, Yukimura. Neither chief nor commander need to wait on our behalf. I don't know what's going on, but it's going fast. This is our very first option. Who is this one? Kinda don't recognize, because we had like a little slit of their eyes, and I don't really recognize who is who. Yeah, I kinda didn't expect the left guy to have so much hair. Who's the right guy? I don't know who he is. In the meeting room, Kondo, Hijikata, and the rest of the Shinsengumi captains had already gathered.
よし、これで全員揃ったな。
Alright,
それでは合議を始めるぞ。
this is everyone. Let us begin this meeting.
さて、新政府軍との戦については、諸軍らも気にかかっていると思うが。
Now, as I am sure, many of you are wondering, we are set to immobilize against the Imperial Army.
我々の次の戦場は甲府だ。
Our next
甲府
orders
城で敵を迎え撃つこととなった。
are taking us to Kofu. We are going to storm Kofu Castle.
トシ、説明してくれ。
Toshi, explain to them.
俺たちが甲府に出向く目的は新政府軍に慶喜公の標準の意思を伝え
After listening to a couple of animes and nice visual novel stories, I do kind of recognize some of the voice actors already. Kind of like this one. Our reasons for heading to Kofu is telling them those Imperial Army bastards were Lord Yoshinobu allegiances.
奴らに立てつく連中から甲府を守るってことになってる。表向きはな。
We're going to hold back Kofu and hold it from anyone stupid enough to get in our way. From the front, at least.
だが真の目的は甲府城にて敵を迎え撃つことにある。
First and foremost, we're all going to reclaim Kofu Castle by flushing out all those Imperial forces.
もし今回の任務が成功したら、我々に甲府城をくださるそうだぞ。
To make the stakes higher,
ここは気合を入れて臨まねばな。
if we're successful, then we keep Kofu Castle for ourselves. We have no choice but to give it our all.
そうそう。今日は他にも諸君らに伝えなければならないことがある。
Ah, and there's something else that I must bring to your attention as well, my friends. Kondo crossed his arm, gazing around the room, in proud awe at each of his men. It was clear that he was building anticipation, ever the master showman. I cherished the time when Kondo would show his more youthful, excited side.
なんだよ。
Come on,
言い
what
たい
is
こと
it?
があるんなら、もったいぶらないでさっさと言ってくれよな。
Ah, Chief, don't leave us hanging. Will you come out with it already?
長倉君はせっかちだな。そんな調子では城勤めなどできんぞ。
Always so impatient, Nagakura. With that attitude, I don't know how you'll make it working in a castle. Kondo chuckled at his own remark before clearing his throat to resume his own official tone.
なんと今回の任務にあたって俺は若年寄格という身分をいただけることになった。若年寄といえば大名だぞ、大名。
I'm proud to say that with this mission, everyone, I have been promoted to the title Executive Lieutenant Minister, which means that I am now a daimyo.
さらには 大久保剛という新しい名前まで頂戴してきた。どうだ、勇ましいだろう。
On top of that, I have been given a new name. Tsuyoshi Okubo. What do y'all think? Rather befitting a warrior, wouldn't you say? Kondo blushed, bright red with glee, and I had never seen him so enthusiastic before. But none of the other captains, Nagakura especially, seemed to share with enthusiasm. Surprisingly, all of them looked dejected, as if they were given something bitter to eat.
というわけで、早急に甲府行きの支度を進めてもらいたい。
So, fellas, all of you start preparing to leave for Kono as soon as possible.
我々が幕府の方々にどう評価されるかは、諸君らの働きにかかっているからな。期待しているぞ。
How well we do out there will reflect my evaluation with the shogunate. I have nothing but high hopes for each and every one of you.
それでは、本日は解散。
Alright, all dismissed. As soon as the assembly finished, Kodo walked with a spring in his step, whistling as he exited the room. Wow, Kondo sure is elated to have been given such an honorable promotion. In fact, I don't think I've ever seen Kondo that happy before.
近藤さんはもともと小さな道場の道場主だったからな。
Kondo began a small dojo.
働きを認められ大名に取り立てられたとなれば浮かれもするだろう。
So it's only natural to express elevation when your efforts are recognized and are promoted thusly. So if we win the battle, Kondo mentioned that we could keep the Kofu castle. So if that were to happen, then it would mean that you and the other captains would start working within the castle, right? It was hard to imagine for a person like me who had been born in a civil village, but for a reason I couldn't place, Saito felt less than thrilled about the prospect, and I felt bad.
俺には城勤めなどできん。できるのは人を切ることだけだ。
The castle seems rather ambitious for me. My skill is the gift of taking life. After saying that, Sato's eyes thinned, and he gazed down the sky, which was empty of stars. Thinking about it then, I wondered how Saito himself came to join the Shinsegamu. I had been working with him for so long, and I realized I barely know who he is actually. But if I were to make the effort to ask him, then I'm sure he wouldn't give me a straight answer.
やれやれ。近藤さんは一体何を感じ
Oh
てる
man, what the hell is Kondo thinking?
俺は一度たりともあの人の家来になったつもりはねえぜ。
I don't remember signing up being a servant or whatever.
大名だかなんだか知らねえが、舞い上がるのを大概にしてくれってんだ。
Daimyo or whatever, I don't care, he still needs to chill down a bit.
3、40年前ならいざ知らず、今の幕府にもらった身分じゃな。
If this were 30 or 40 years ago, I'd be one thing. But to get promoted from the current shogunate. Neither Nagakura nor Harada seem excited by Kondo's news. Saito had noticed seems fixed on the two of them as they rant, where his unusual expressionless gaze. War is about to erupt. I pray that everyone will return safely. War. Chapter 2, 1864, March. Okay. Back in the main village. Springtime brought with the bloom of new life. The Shinsengumo had renamed themselves as the Kyoyo Regulation Company and departed from Edo. Sunan and Heisuke decided to stay behind in Edo along with what remained from the Fury Corps. My first assumption was that I would remain behind with them, but for some reason Hijikata saw fit to command me to march beside the Kyoyo Regulation Company. Saito was assigned to watch over me, making his experience altogether not much different than how things have been while we were in Edo. There was one rather large change, however, which was...
しかしまさかこの俺が洋装で戦うことになるとは思わなかったぜ。
Man, who would have thought that there'd be ever a day where I was dressed in Western clothes? Oh yeah, that looks neat. Although, yeah, definitely looks westernized.
土方さんは新しいもの好きだからな。
Ooh.
銃を持った奴らとの戦いにはこっちの方が都合がいいってことだろう。
Hajikata doesn't have an eye for flair. I suppose it's easier to get around in this getup when there are bullets flying at you. Oh yeah, shit, that's indeed. I'm not a big history, I would say expert nor fan, but yeah, samurais against pistols, that's a big problem.
着るのには苦労したけどな。
I like it, I like it. I like that they all have like 2 katanas. Very awesome, very awesome. Jeez, these are a pain in the ass to put them
特に
on.
このボタンってやつの使い道が最初さっぱりわからなくて。
Especially this thing right here, it's called a button? I had no idea how the hell it used at first. After embarking from Edo, many of the men were giving a new Western-style uniform to wear. I found them rather dashing despite how form-fitting all of the accessories and garments were, compared to Japanese clothing, but everyone had their doubts. Hey Saito, how do those sleeves fit on you? They're hard to move in?
特に
Not particularly. I like his outfit. I like it. I like uniforms. Men in uniforms. Yeah. I think these clothes have buttons instead of sashes to fasten things together.
そうらしいな。
It appears so. This had been my first opportunity to see Saito adorn his Western uniform, but I had to say he looked quite handsome. Of course I was a little taken aback to see that he had cut inches of his hair, but oh no, but his other side. Saito, rather unsurprisingly, was difficultly to read, and I wasn't sure if he was upset by it or not. Huh? Saito, I think you forgot to button the last 2 right here.
おそらくこういう作りなのだろう。
That's by design. Oh, he's happy, he's smiling. Oh, he likes it. He's smiling. Maybe, but I think those 2 holes were there so that you can slip those 2 last buttons in. I think you've missed a couple. No, he did cut it. This side has no hair as well. Hearing this, Saito quietly dropped his eyes to peek at the aforementioned buttons on his new coat. His cheek flushed with color as he bit his lip.
後で直す。
I will tend to it later. Oh, a little bit of blushes, a little bit of blushes, a little bit of blushes. I'm so sorry. If it doesn't bother you, then don't worry about it. It's fine either way. Judging by his reaction, seems getting Saito to feel comfortable would be like pulling a teeth. Now that I think about it, I haven't seen Kodo around lately. Did he not join our convoy?
近藤局長でしたら
Oh,
まだ日野のあたりにいらっしゃると聞いていま
nice. I like the red. Yeah. I believe Chief Kondo is still in the Hino area. Hino?
どうせ新入り大使と宴会でもしてるんじゃないの？
Bet you anything he's having a drink with the new recruits.
さあ、何考えてるんだろうな。あの人、今回の甲府行きを旅行が何かと勘違いしてるんじゃねえのか？
Shit, what's going on in his head? Huh? We're marching into battle and we're having a mini vacation.
そう言ってやるなって。
Ah, come on. No need to be like that.
久しぶりに嫁さんや娘にも会いてえだろうし、故郷に錦も飾りてえだろうよ。
It's been years since he's seen his wife or daughter. Give the guy a break, he deserves it.
俺は別に宴会そのものに文句つけてるわけじゃねえよ。時と場合を考えてくれって言ってるんだ。
Look, I'm not giving a shit for having a drink. All I'm saying is that there's a time and place for everything. Nagarakura's sore rant consequently made the mood around the general vicinity low, especially for some of the new members. I snuck a glance at Sino, who was walking quietly beside me. He stride almost step by step with me. Although he wouldn't have been one to express much, I noticed his brow locked in a furrowed position, with something heavy on his mind. Probably the buttons. Pretty sure it's the buttons that's on his mind. Eventually, Hijikata loudly barked at the convoy to halt at the front, stopping to face us.
大丈夫か、ユキマ。
Oh, he has a nice outfit
そろ
as
そろバテ
well.
始めてるんじゃねえか。
Oh yeah, I love the belts and everything. They still have a little bit of, Japanese style as well. You good? Yukimura. Figured you'd be a little tired. No. I'm fine, thank you.
悪いな。いきなり俺たちに同行させることになっちまった。
I'm sorry for the spring of the orders. For you to join us suddenly. I wouldn't mind it at all, but I wondered, is it really okay for me to be marching out here with you guys? I mean, I'm just a little worried that I could be a distraction on the battlefield. Ichikata's expression turned glum. He seemed to stroke a chin absent-mindedly, lost in a deep thread of concentration.
俺もできれば江戸で留守番させてやりたかったんだがな。
Of course, if possible, I would have preferred you to stay behind an Edo.
今のお前を一人で屯所に置いておくのは危険すぎる。戦場まで連れてきた方がかえって安全ってもんだ。
But having you by yourself at the compounds would have been dangerous. Seemed like a better idea for me to bring you here, where I can watch you, at least. Dangerous? And Saito chimed in.
三男さんのことですか。
Oh yeah, nice. Gloves? No gloves. Are they wearing their arm protection underneath? Because they had like arm protection before. Maybe it's hidden. Is it Sanan?
さすが察しがいいな。その通りだ。
Sharp eyes as ever. That's right.
近頃あの人の様子がどうもおかしい。
He's been acting real weird lately.
余裕をなくしちまってるっつうか。羅刹の本性をむき出しにすることが増えちまった。
Seems like he was scratching at the walls. Or maybe the fury has been finally gotten him. I wasn't sure of what to say. I too had experienced suspicious interactions with Sanan that left me a little more uneasy than I would have liked.
お前を屯所に置き去りにしといて、取り返しのつかねえ事態になっちまっても困るからな。
I like to look at the uniforms. See, the thing is, I didn't want to leave you back at the compounds, and then later come to realize I made a huge mistake.
いろいろ面倒事は多いが、一緒についてきてもらうことにしたんだ。すまねえな、付き合わせちまった。
Tagging along with us might be a real pain in the ass, but I'd figured it'd be best in your situations. Sorry for the headache. Oh, please don't worry about me. At first, Hichikata's sudden orders confused me, especially because I was certainly no warrior, but it appeared as though he had a lot to think about, which was understandable in his position.
副長、一つお知らせしたいことが。
Commander, a minute of your time, please.
なんだ、サイト。
What's up, Saito?
新八と佐野が今回の甲府での戦について多大な疑問を抱いている様子です。
Shinpachi and Sano appear displeased with your orders to attack Kofu,
特に近藤局長の行動について。
especially in regards to Chief Kondo's behavior. Hajikata gave me a really smile.
疑問っつうより不満だろう。そりゃ俺も気づいてたよ。
Was pleased? Maybe more like disgruntled. Yeah, I noticed it.
これから戦だってのに、局長が宿に入り浸って酒かっくらってたんじゃ、あいつらが腹を立てるのも当たり前だよな。
I mean, I don't blame him. We're going to a war, and Kondo spending his time drinking at inns probably isn't the most diplomatic move.
ただこのご時世、普通に募集をかけたところで、大使なんて集まってこねえ。
Thing is, though, in our current predicament, I would say, we don't really have the luxury of men lining up around the corner, willing to join us.
酒やら給金を目の前にちらつかせて関心を買わねえとな。
Yeah, instead, we gotta use sake and cash to win them over. What? In the past, I was somewhat ignorant of the recruiting methods, but are men who are more easily swayed by the promise of alcohol and money the kind of men our leaders expected to fight tooth and nail for the Shinsengumi?
率直にお聞きします。副長は今回の戦、勝てるとお思いですか？
That's actually a crazy question, guys. Please be honest. Do you believe he will be victorious, Commander? Like, this is... in those times, or just in war in general, it's really crazy. Like, they're all marching. They got new uniforms, new suits, everything is blinking, everything is nice. But some of them will not even see daylight anymore. It's really crazy. They're just... it's crazy life, knowing you will die.
城にこもって戦えば、まず負けはしねえはずだ。
Well, if we can get inside the castle and fortify it, we'll be set.
城をということは野戦になった場合は
The castle. So, if you're unable to penetrate it, then...
お前は本当聞いてほしくねえことばかり聞いてくれるよな。
You know, I'd seriously wish you'd give me something to smile about once in a while.
野戦になりゃ、勝つのは相当難しくなるだろう。
To answer your question, if you can't get inside, it doesn't look too good.
今回の戦にあたって、幕府のお偉いさんから武器や大砲を預かってきたが、
Although the Shogunate leaders armed us with some guns and cannons this time
薩長が
around,
使ってやがる新型の武器にはどうしたって歯が立たねえ。
they're nothing compared to the type of weapons the Satsuma and Sochu have got.
では今回は負け戦になると。
Do you anticipate our defeat then?
そうならねえよう努力はするさ。近藤さんにはなるべく負け戦なんて経験してほしくねえ。
This is gonna be played pretty close to the chest for me. And I'll work my ass off. I don't want to put Kondo through the same thing as last time.
いえ、人も武器も急ごしらいで臨む戦だからな。
Sad thing is though, war gives every idiot with a weapon an opportunity to use it. Hajikata turned his somber eyes to face the cumulus clouds bunching into a cluster overhead. Then after a deep sigh, he faced Saito and me.
こんな話をシンパチや原田に聞かせるわけにはいかねえだろう。
There's no way I could let Shinpachi or Harada hear this, but
保証はねえが死ぬ気で戦ってくれなんてさすがに言えねえよ、俺でも。
even I can't bring myself to tell everyone, hey, guys, there's no guarantee we'll win. Go ahead and risk your life for us. This was the first time I've ever seen Hajikata express a moment of vulnerability. It was so unlike him to admit that the odds were stacked against him. On top of this, how often had he found himself unable to show honesty at any of his captains? Men that he spent many years fighting alongside. Saito was stoic as he gazed back at Hijikata with the face of a docile servant.
お気持ちをお察しします。相変わらず憎まれ役がお上手で。
Acknowledged. As usual, your skill in feigning the devil's advocate goes noticed.
ま、それが俺の役回りだからな。
Yeah, it's all in the duty. Later, we were encamped in such a trail. Just off the trail, and with the tent, I laid awake restlessly. Hajikata's rather hopeless confession wouldn't stop stirring repeatedly in my head. From the corner of my eyes, I saw Saito's sudden movement as he quietly exited his encampment. I wondered what's wrong. Did he have business to attend to? Although it would have been better for me to leave him be, I was concerned that it had something to do with his health and condition, so I followed him.
雪村先輩、どうしたんですか？
Mrs. Yukimura, is something wrong? I'm worried about Saito. I'm going to make sure he's okay.
そっとしておいた方がいいんじゃね？
Perhaps it'd be better if you let him be, no?
もしかしたら副長と何か話でもあるのかもしれねえし。
Maybe he's just going off to speak with the commander or something. If that were the case, then I'd come back, right? Do either of you mind keeping watch for me? With that, I ran off to Saito. Where did he go to? Ah, there he is. Saito stood alone in the middle of an open patch in the forest, silently staring towards the clear sky. The stars glowed intensely as if they were all on course to rain down upon him as he stood mesmerized. He was as expressionless as ever, but his shoulders slumped below the twinkling of his melancholic eyes. A lonely display, I thought to myself. Just then, oh! I accidentally brushed a branch, rustling the leaves behind as I was hiding.
そこにいるのは誰だ？
Who is there? Saito's sharp voice crackled the silence.
10数える間に姿を現せ。
You have
さも
until
なくば
you have until I count to 10, or else I'll slit your throat. He must have thought there was an enemy soldier spying on him. His tongue was biting, and all I could hear is his hand wrapped around his katana hilt. Oh, wait, it's me! Oh, nice. I love his stance. Nice stance. At once, I leaped from behind the shrub. When Saito had realized it was me, his expression became sullen.
何故一人で陣を出てきた？先日のことを何も反省していないようだな。
Why have you left the camp? Have you forgotten what happened the last time? I'm sorry. It's just I had a lot on my mind and I couldn't fall asleep. And then I saw you leaving camp, so... Saito hadn't reacted one bit whatsoever, keeping his stoic eyes locked at me, as I explained myself. Eventually, he just turned to look to the moon, gazing quietly at soft, tender light. Why did you come here? Did you need some fresh air? Saito didn't respond. Instead, he continued to stare at the skies, and his eyes thinned as if the stars were shining too brightly. Surely Saito was consumed with thought that tightly coiled within his heart. I felt a little guilty for interrupting a moment of silence, but... what do you think, Saito? About what Hajikata said earlier?
どうとは
In what manner? Well, if things go the way Hijikata predicted them to be, then we might end up losing this time around, right?
そうだろうな。
Indeed, I assume.
我々の持つ武器はあくまでも旧式のもの。新型の兵器を駆使する薩長の部隊には到底歯が立たん。
As he mentioned, the art of the sword is an archaic one. Our weapons are mere toys compared to those which are possessed by the Satsume and Shosu.
しかも今回共に戦う新入りの大使たちはどれも銃などまともに扱えぬ輩ばかりだ。
To further our embarrassment, the new recruits are quicker with the bottle than to the rifle. Then why don't they find swordsmen?
人を殺めたことがある者が何の咎めもなしに市中を往来していると思うか。
Is your naivety so strong that you believe those who have killed before can walk freely in the streets, able to join our cause without retribution?
同情剣術がどれほどうまくとも実戦では何の役にも立たん。
Prowess in a dojo matters not. It is no simulation for a true battle.
戦いにおいて寛容なのは人を切ることができるかどう
The
か。
only thing that matters is if you can kill when called upon. Saito was right. It didn't matter how many men were recruited without actual experience on the battlefield. We may as well have been sending men to their graves. Having both Hajikita and Saito described with great detail just how dire the situation was awoken me with impotent, desperate hopelessness. Aren't you scared, Saito, entering a battlefield knowing that defeat could be likely? You might die. In my heart, I realized how futile this question might have sounded, especially to someone like Saito, who, on numerous occasions, came face to face with death. He was a man who, without a shred of doubt, accepted death as his companion a long time ago. It was a bravery that I could not fathom.
死ぬこと自体は怖くはない。
I do not fear death. His answer, perhaps unsurprisingly, was delivered indifferently. But he added something that I was not expecting.
ただ信じているものを見失うのは恐ろしい。
What does bring me fear, though, is losing sight of that which I believe in. What do you believe in? His words were so obscured, it is difficult for me to extract what kind of meaning for them. After a calm pause, Saito looked me in the eyes, taking a deep breath before asking me a question.
武士の別の呼び名を知っているか。
Do you know the warrior's other name? Other name? You mean like samurai? Saito shut his eyes and slowly shook his head.
左差し。武士が刀を刺すのは左の腰だからな。
A left side. Because of the location in which warriors keep the sword.
刀を刺した侍はどんな狭い道でも左端を歩く。武士の魂たる刀を他人に触れさせたくはないからな。
A left? Interesting. A samurai always walks to the left. No matter how narrow the street, their katana is their soul, and it must never be touched by another person. But you're... Saito kept the sword on the right side of his hip, and he always unsheathed it with his left. After giving it a second of consideration, I didn't think I've seen anyone other than Saito who kept the sword on the right.
俺は生まれつき左利きだ。
I was born left-handed.
そのせいでどの道場に行っても免状や切り紙など受け取ったことはない。
This quality made it challenging for me to join any dojo, and I received another license. And I received neither license nor kirikami. What is this? License. A document signifying mastership of all disciplines within particular martial arts awarded for students by the master. Epic. Cool.
市内を握った瞬間、まず部長訪問と持ち方を正される。その繰り返しだった。
Any attempt I made to hold the bokken was met with immediately with an order to correct my hand. Time and time again I was told to change.
だがそんなことを言った連中で、俺に勝った者はただの一人もいない。
However, those who dared to make such comments had never once defeated me in combat.
師範代、目録、大層な肩書きを持った者でも、打ち合えば無名の俺に負ける。
I learned something. Names mean nothing on the battlefield. Your skill precedes reputation, something neither sensei nor assistant understood.
では本物の強さとは一体何だ。昔の俺は
So,
そんなことばかり考えていた。
from when does the strength come? A question I pondered for years. Saito muttered himself nonchalantly. However, learning how much he had overcome told me just how much this question meant to him. For years. So does that mean you found an answer? Saito felt silent. Saito, without another word, he unsheathed his sword, and the cold, shimmering moonlight reflected off the blade.
簡単なことだ。真剣で切り合って勝った方が強い。
It is simple.
単純にして明快な答えだ。
With the blade, whoever wins is the strongest. Simple, but to the point.
260年続いた太平の世で侍同士が切り合いをすることなどめったになくなってしまったが、
Our era of peace has continued for nearly 260 years. So this petty conflict between samurai is a rare one.
それでも侍というのは刀を振るうのが本分だったはずだ。俺はそう考えていた。
Even so, it is within a true warrior's nature to have their sword at the ready. At least, I believe it to be so. Sato's eyes glowed from the shine of the lit blade, but I still carried the thick darkness behind him. A tingling chill ran down the length of my
だ
spine.
が、そう思っていたのは俺だけだったようだ。
However, it appears as though this belief is mine to hold alone.
新選組ができる前、ある旗本の指定に果たし合いを申し込まれ、その相手を切り殺したことがある。
Long ago, before the Shinsengumi had been formed, a certain Hatamoto's disciple was saw fit to challenge me to a duel, and his life was put to an end. What? A Hatamoto was one of the elite of the society. To kill one of a duel, I imagine, would have been a serious offense.
俺が果たし合いに勝ち、その相手は負けた。
They offered me the challenge, and I saw to it that the challenge was met.
だが勝ったはずの俺は罪に問われ、史跡を剥奪されて武士の証を失った。
Despite my victory, however, I was charged with murder, and my samurai registry was revoked.
武士というのはもともと人を切るのが役目だったはずなのに、実際に切ると罪人と呼ばれる。
Ironic, isn't it? Our purpose is to murder, and then, when such a purpose is put to the test, they brand us as criminals.
こんな矛盾した話があるか。その頃の俺はそう考えていた。
Have you ever heard of such contradiction? For many years this was my burden to bear. The weight of Saito, put behind each utterance of warrior, was so heavy, as though the life was formed and guided by those standards alone. Poor guy. I doubt, sadly, that I would be able to find many who would find themselves in agreement with him. Despite having an unparalleled talent, he had no one to validate, say talent, a frustrating fact indeed. His tragic lack of support instigated him to rely on his own measure for both strength and honor, for validation, which were tricky to navigate. For once I caught a glimpse of the bitter loneliness that he had been nurturing for his whole life.
だが新選組の皆は勝つために、目の前の相手を殺して己が生き残るために刀を振るう。
The Shinsengumi men, however, victory meant slaying their opponent before they had an opportunity to strike.
それは俺の思い描く武士の姿と
Quite similar to the kind of
よく似
warrior
ていた。
I had idolized.
司令官で皆に会った時は初めて話の通じる相手に巡り合ったと思ったものだ。
Upon meeting them at the Shei Hall, it was the first instant in which I had felt as though there were people who understood me. Hearing Saito's story made me finally realize all that gave him strength and brought him strife. The Shinsengumi was a shelter and system of support that he needed.
新選組で一番人を切っているのはおそらく俺か宗司のどちらかだろう。
Among the Shinsengumi, either Soji or myself holds the distinction of having killed the most men.
だがどれだけ多くの人間を切り殺しても薄気味悪がられ恨まれこそすれ感謝されることなど絶対にない。
However, this distinction brings with it no respect, only contempt and disgust. So how is one to garner any recognition if your skill goes undervalued?
俺が今まで研ぎ続けてきた爪はシャバでは何の役にも立たない。それは自分でもよくわかっている。
All my life, I had spent time sharpening my claws, only to find that they were useless all along. I know this to be true better than anyone. Saito rotated his blade to make his reflection visible, and he gazed longingly at himself. Taking a closer look at his sword, I realized that it was quite thinner than some of that the other men had. I suppose he sharpened his blade religiously, wearing it out in combat until it was of no use at all. If what he said about his amount of kills were true, then it must have been happened dozens of times.
だがこれがこの爪だけが俺が勝ち続けてきた証なのだ。
However, this claw in particular is a testament of my perseverance.
切り合いでは誰にも負けぬはずの血生臭い剣技だけが
I'm undefeated on the battlefield, a distinction that seems to be all I have left. I gasped. When Saito drank the water of life, he said it was in order to protect me, but perhaps more than that, he was afraid of confronting what defeat could mean to himself, which served in the greater interest of preserving his pride. So this is what gave Saito the will to continue.
しかし時代は変わった。
Times have changed, however.
鍛え抜かれた剣の技よりも幼獣の方が多くの人間を殺すことができる。
A gun is quickly to kill anyone, well-trained swordsman.
武士が刀を持つ意味も
What it means to wield his
俺が
sword.
爪を研ぎ続ける意味も
All that we have sacrificed and trained for has fallen victim to the behest of a new generation of warriors. Saito bitterly bit into his lips, sheathing his sword back into his scabbard. For him, wielding a sword was the single most important honor any man could have. But the age of blade was coming to its end. Beyond facing death or accepting the burden of becoming a fury, Saito's very way of life was threatened by the passage of time, an inevitable deluge of change beyond himself. This would make anyone nervous but Saito. It meant a total re-evaluation of the truths he had held dear for his entire life. What could it possibly say to him? Maybe you're right. It's not like that. Maybe you're right. No, I agree. Maybe you're right. Maybe you're right. Maybe time will come when warriors are no longer needed in our world. Even Nijikata admitted that the sheer range and power of a rifle puts us at a huge advantage against the Satsuma and Chosu. They were too advanced. My response seemed to sting Saito, and he glared angrily toward the empty space behind us. But even if a time comes when samurais and katanas are no longer needed, that doesn't mean that you're not needed too, Saito.
どういうことだ？
What are you saying? His sour tone made it flinch me a little, but I took a deep breath and articulated my position calmly. Like you said, swords are for killing. Blood has been spilled on your hands and certainly on your sword. But I disagree. Your sword also has the power to save lives. I, for one, am one of those who count themselves as lucky enough to have been saved by yourself. During the battle over the top of Fushimi and from my father back in Edo. If you hadn't been there, I would have been killed. At the end of the day, my word came from someone who lived a relatively sheltered life of privilege. I was under constant protection. All the same, I hope my word will do something to motivate and inspire Saito to retain his pride. Which is why I'm so very thankful to you, Saito. I appreciate you. No matter what happened in this world, even if it decides I no longer need a samurai, I will always need you. You saved my life. Saito's lips curled inquisitively, making it difficult for me to read how he is feeling. Once more, he turned away from me, staring into the darkness in contemplation. Maybe what I said was out of line, just as my anxiety began to flare. Ah! Saito stroked his soft, slender fingers against the side of my cheeks. Oh, handsome hunk. Handsome hunk. I could see the gorgeous dazzle of stars in his dark, mysterious eyes, which were stoically fixed on my own. Is something wrong, Saito? This gesture startled me initially, and I nervously asked him why, but he remained silent, offering no answer with his words as much as his body language. His eyes scanned me thoroughly, as if he were searching for something conspicuous, when finally he spoke breathily.
誠実な目をしているな。
Your eyes. They're so sincere. Huh?
嘘や偽りではない。魂からの言葉を口にした時の瞳だ。
Within them is no hint of deceit, as if your words are curled from the very essence of your soul.
初めて司令官に行き、門人たちと打ち合った時、
When I first visited Sheie Hall, and challenged each of their enrolled students.
試合に立ち会った皆が俺を強いと評した。今のお前と同じ目で。
Everyone who observed me then, and mentioned how strong I was, had the same twinkling eyes as you do.
だからこそ思った。ここでなら、俺の剣の使い道を見つけられるのではないかと。
I entered a period of reflection. Perhaps to keep true to myself, I would eventually carve a reason to wield my sword thusly. His voice was quiet as always, however, I sensed a small sense of relief in him. And he was less tense than when I found him. Seeing him relax made my heart feel warm. So let's keep our faith in the Shinsengumi then. They're the ones who recognize your strengths before anyone else did, a strength that even you yourself were unaware of. Even if one day you no longer needed your sword, then I am sure that no one of them would even think of abandoning you. Saito's eyes shut wide in surprise. His mouth immediately formed a slight curl, and he attempted an awkward but adorable
た
smile.
だ美中を尽くすのみか。
Yeah, so simple, isn't it? What? I wasn't sure what Saito was murmuring.
雪村、感謝する。
Many thanks, Yukimura.
今まで見えなかった何かがおぼろげにだが、見えてきた。
With your assistance, I can see that which had eluded me in the past. It is still unknown, but I see it. Gratitude sounded strange coming from him, but there was no question that it was genuine. His hands lingered on my face for a moment longer, and then he slowly drew them back.
この時世、幕命を受けたとて、命を懸けて戦おうとする武士は多くない。
Few men are willing to put their lives on the line these days, even if their shogun orders them to. It was true. After all, the Supreme Commander himself had abandoned the troops at the first sign of trouble. And moreover, even the Hideyomi Daimo and the Tokugawa affiliation Daimo turned their backs on the shogunate.
だが鳥羽伏見の戦で、新八は死ぬことを覚悟して切り込み隊に志願した。
But at Toba Fushimi, Shinpachi volunteered to lead the attack, knowing fully well it could mean his
近
death.
藤さんは肩の傷が治ってすぐ戦線に復帰した。
And Kondo returned to the front lines the very moment his injured shoulder had healed.
土方さんは敗北して大使の非難を受けることを覚悟で
And even
幕府
now,
のために戦おうとしている。
Hijikata is preparing to wage war in the name of the shogun in the knowledge of his impending defeat.
近藤さんや土方さんはもともと武家の生まれではない。
Nor Kondo nor Hijikata were born with the blood of a
だ
samurai,
が彼らの魂は
but their soul,
誰よりも武士だ。
that is what makes them samurai. That's a good sound! Again, it's a good sound! We're doing good!
生き様を言うのだろうな。
Perhaps it is the deed that make a warrior, a way of life, not a position to be won. His voice was unfettered with the monotone that usually characterized it so often in the past. I couldn't say for sure, but it seems as though just as Saito had hoped to convince me of his strength and reliability, he had also hoped to convince himself. For as long as I'd known him, I'd seen Saito as serious and single-minded, the sort of man who was steadfast in his convictions and his self-determination purpose. But now it seems he's beginning to see the side of him that was, for lack of a better word, human.
そろそろ夜が明けるな。陣に戻るか。
Dawn approaches. We should return. You're right. The insects chirping and hummed from the trees as we made our way back to camp. We were nearly there when... And with this transformation, we will end the episode. Apologies guys, the episode dragged on a little bit too long. A little bit apologies, we are about 45 minutes in. But anyways, I hope you enjoyed it. I just could not stop this whole conversation. It was a very interesting... I do sense that there is a lot of... I think I've seen some movies when I was a little bit younger about this whole change of times. When the revolution came and the foreign languages entered on land, the samurais were kind of endangered and they were considered as criminals. I sense that there is a little bit of history. It's kind of cool. Kind of cool. Very nice to read about it and to see it now as a nice, beautiful story. I love it. I really love it. Very exciting for next episode, guys. As always, thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, drop a comment down below. Help us grow. Help us to create more beautiful stories. And I will see you in the next episode, my friends. Have a good day, everyone.